Hey YouTube. So today is currently October 22nd as I'm recording this video. And on this day, well, it wasn't exactly on this day, but news has spread far and wide on this day. The last couple of days, it's been nuts today. About Trump tearing down the East Wing, the entirety of the East Wing, by the way, of the White House. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this video today. I have a list of videos, a list of video ideas. And this has been on the list, not the White House being torn, but basically what I'm going to talk about in this video. There are going to be some major changes coming to our country, the United States. And I think what's happening right now with our White House, yes, I said our White House, the citizens' White House, by the way, not the president's, is a very good example of those changes in that they will be taking effect. So, I foresee three possibilities here. Number one, this country will continue. This is the least problematic one, if you want to call it that. In a way, still fraught with problems. But number one is during the midterms, the Democrats will take back at least some power of either the House or Senate or both, essentially Congress in some way, to where they can start blocking some of these Republican policies and Trump. Number two. Well, okay, let's keep with number one for a second. That being said, we'll kind of be able to, hopefully, because Democrats now have more control again, we can keep Trump and the bullshit Republican crap at bay until presidential elections, and hopefully, again, let's say what happened last time happens again, we get a Democratic president again, this time hopefully someone who's really, really a good president. I mean, Biden was good, just not strong. I don't feel like it was not a good fit for this, but we'll get someone who's really good. Maybe we can get 8 years out of them, and this country will go sorta, kinda back to normal, right? It's going to be very hard to come out of, and that's kind of my point of saying this number one here. It's going to be very hard to go back to where we were in like 2015. I think we're decades away from that. If that's a future that we have, we're decades away from it right this moment. People do not understand the amount of stuff we've lost. Honestly, if you pull someone from 2015 and you put them in today's society, they'd probably cry. A lot of us know what it was like in 2015, and I'm sorry, I don't care who you were. Eggs were cheaper, groceries were cheaper, money meant more. $15 an hour was actually a really good amount it was a great thing in 2015. Now you're absolutely not going to be able to live off that, no matter how hard you try. So we're decades away from where the fuck we were in 2015. But let's say that's our future. That's number one. Number two is we turn into fucking Russia. This country does. Now that in itself is not entire. I think that kind of plays in a way with number one, but not exactly. So what I mean by that is the Democrats don't win enough or whatever, or they don't win at all, whatever the hell, in the midterms, or we simply lose the ability to have elections by that point in time. And Trump succeeds in essentially assuming power as a monarchy, fucking dictator leader, whatever the hell you want to call it. And he shuts down Congress, shuts down the court system. Well, I mean, or at least very much changes the court systems to work completely in his favor, where it's a court, if you want to call it that, but it's like the Russian courts, where essentially the state pretty much has complete say in what happens to you, right? There's no reason to even have an attorney anymore. It's simply, how bad did you do? How hated are you by your state officials? And therefore, they decide what the fuck happens to you. That's how it works in Russia, at least as far as I know. Over here, we still have due process, even now. At this time I'm recording this, October 22nd, 2025. But it's becoming much more, much more of a, we don't have that anymore, day by day. The courts are still semi in our favor, but that's becoming more and more of a problem. So if Trump does that, he won't live forever, right? He won't live to see the 2030s, I doubt. But what will happen is somebody else will take his place, right? Now, this person's going to be, by the way, not anything like Donald Trump. They're going to completely suck. Even Trump supporters will hate this person, right? Nobody's going to like whatever the fuck comes out of Donald Trump's dynasty. Whoever gets to take that over. I don't think it'll be Vance. I think it may be, but I think it's really probably going to be one of his kids or whatever, right? Or who's the highest bidder of fucking, I don't know. So that's number two. That's possible number two. Number three is the Civil War breaks out, which can still semi happen. Let's say Trump keeps really trying to push hard. He was just able, I think, today in the courts he's able to deploy. The courts allow him to deploy a National Guard wherever the fuck he wants. Therefore, he can throw it wherever he wants. And let's say the Civil War breaks out because of this. I mean, we've already seen the horrible images of ICE just absolutely mishandling arrests just horribly. Even if these people are returned, it's bad. It's not okay. So if a civil war breaks out in this country, I realize that we had one in the 1860s. And, it turned out the Union won. But remember that Abraham Lincoln, who was nothing like Donald Trump, who was very much a very well-educated man, fought hard for what America was supposed to stand for. And that was, the Confederacy was kind of like the Trump supporters fighting the government. That was our previous Civil War. This one's flipped. We have essentially the Confederacy in power right now already, and all of us have to fight that somehow, or fight each other for whatever factions we supposedly support. What that will probably look like nowadays is, in my opinion, I believe that states will essentially assume control of their borders, and essentially go to their National Guard and say, "You belong to us now, not the feds." No questions asked. We don't want to hear it. Form their militias that way. And essentially, in some states might team up. The northern states like Minnesota, Wisconsin, or, whatever, the Dakotas might team up. I mean, I realize that Minnesota and Wisconsin, Dakotas probably are not so equal when it comes to their politics, but in some ways they are, some ways they're not. But they might decide, fuck it, we're going to team up anyway because we are not like those fucking Southerners at all. And they'll team up a bit and be like, we're not dealing with this shit, and put their 4 National Guard militias together, disband the National Guard, form whatever the fuck out of that stuff, that hardware and those people, and basically take over their own borders and say, nope, fuck it, we are now one country or one group of countries, kind of like how Europe, think of Europe and how Rome became this superpower across most of Europe, and then it broke back up into smaller countries. And honestly, Europe's always kind of been that way, right? Before and even after. We're just a bunch of states, smaller little tiny countries, if you want to call it that. We're not really countries. We rely on our federal government to give us all, to protect our country. And that being said, you know, but there was a time in this country that different states had different money. Seriously. The dollar was, the US dollar is does not go all the way back to 1776. So 1776. It goes, I forget when we defined inside of that in history, but the dollar was not always the standard. And then finally, people got pissed, like, well, you know, my money's not worth anything. Why is yours worth more? Like, blah, 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 whatever, you know. And so finally, it was like, no, everybody is now on the dollar system, right? But my point is that states technically have almost everything they need to be their own countries. Compared, you know, to the United States and up against the United States in a war, it'd be rough, but they could. I mean, they can do that. They can secede from this. In fact, they say, "Fuck this. We're done. We can't do this anymore." I literally see in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, the Dakotas, maybe Ohio even, or shit like that, you know, or I don't know, or those states come together and be like, we're either one country or we're teaming up as a series of countries to fight against this shit together. I think you're going to have to team up if you plan to win. You have any fighting chance at all of winning, that is. Because again, the federal government's armed to their fucking teeth. I mean, anybody in the world knows that. So, but I mean, it'll be a bloodbath. It'll be a horrible war. But that could be the third, what might happen, right? That's the third example. So what is more likely? What do I think is more likely out of these three? Things go back to normal-ish. We turn into fucking Russia. Or number three, we divide and conquer, or whatever the fuck. I think 2 and 3 are more likely, personally, right now. If I have to judge based on what I'm seeing right now, I think 2 and 3 are more likely. I am very worried about the 2026 elections. Very worried. Now, don't get me wrong. I realize my past videos have been like, don't worry too much. I'm not, that's not what I mean. I don't mean don't worry. I just mean do your best to keep going and living your life, right? Amongst all this shit. I want you to care about this. We all need to care about it, but we also need to maintain calmness about this, right? We have to. We have to stay level-headed. This is where our characters are going to be tested, is this shit, is my point. So, I think, though, that 2 and 3 are more likely, though, because I don't see the country coming together and being like, nope, we're going to figure this out. We're going to be level-headed. I mean, we've gotten already this far, and there's still 40% of our population in this country that still actively supports the White House being torn down. The East Wing of the White House being torn. I mean, people are Trump supporters, even if they're the minority, they still support that shit. Trump can do no wrong in their minds, which is fucking horrible. But for that reason, I don't think this country in its current state is going to last all that long anymore. I think we're seeing the beginning and the end of our country as we've known it. I don't think it's the end of everything here. I think Americans are going to probably evolve into something else, and we'll kind of sort of have, in some ways, what we have right now, but it'll be governed differently, and that not in a good way either. It's not a good thing. I want to remind everybody watching, no matter who you are, the right or the left, some people are going to think this is obvious because they're not a Trump supporter. Sorry. Some people are not going to understand this in full because they are a Trump supporter. Sorry, but not sorry. The United States was, no longer is, was a superpower. unlike anything the world has ever seen in human history. There's never been a superpower that was as powerful and did as much as United States did in our lifetimes. For science, for people, you name it. And don't get me wrong, with its flaws, obviously. But in reality, there was no superpower like it. So anything that comes after this on this continent is not going to ever be as good. Which is why I say changes are coming. I know there are going to be those people that do not believe. It's not even a matter of belief. It's just that it happened, and you believe it didn't happen, actually. We went from putting cars on the road in this country to a man on the moon within 60 fucking years. Well, practically 70, I guess, but you know what I mean. Still pretty freaking awesome. I mean, damn, that's pretty good. And for those of you that are on the right side of history right now, you get that. You're like, yeah. Any of those people, I'm sorry, I truly am. I think there's a future for all of us individually, and no matter what happens. But it's not going to be without its problems. I mean, no matter what happens, sure. But I mean, I just want to remind everybody what we lost in 2015. What I mean is, in 2015, shit was pretty good, no matter who you were. Sorry, not sorry. Nowadays, not so much. Not so much at all. I think it's going to I think it's going to continue to get worse as far as our country is concerned. I mean, we're watching this current president tear down the east wing of the White House right now. In full. With no guardrails. Nobody can stop him. If he can do that, what can he do with our elections? If he can control Congress enough to shut down the government and keep it shut down, because he doesn't want Congress to be open right now, even with his Republicans in control. He doesn't need a Congress if he wants to run it for himself. Guys, this country's fucking cooked. It's cooked, man. And I say that, but it's bad. It's not good. And I'm not just talking about your rent, yeah, economically we're going to be fucked from all this. But you know what, though? I hate to say this to you, but you being able to pay rent and you being able to... That's the problem, is we have such low standards now. There was a time in this country when being able to pay your bills was just kind of basic. Like, okay, yeah, duh. You should be able to pay your phone bill. You should be able to pay your car payment. You should have a mortgage and a house. Duh. Now, it's practically life and death. Like, are you going to be able to do anything at all? Are you going to be living with your parents? Or are you going to be trying to own a home? Or even just pay your rent? People's priorities are so simple now. Just surviving is all they care about. And that's what's really sad. Not because people are having obviously because they're having to suffer to survive. But what's even more sad is that they now have no room to care about anything else. Getting a good education, starting a business, having a good career. They barely have room for it. I mean, the only reason why they would ever care about any of that stuff is to just make money. but they're never going to care about the work they put into something. They're never going to care. That's why all products suck nowadays, because everybody behind those products, they don't care. They're just there to do a job. To sell something, to get something done. They don't actually give a shit about innovation. And that's what's really sad. So things are going to change, right? And it'll be one of those three things. None of those three things are very good. Hopefully number one happens, where we kind of go back to normal and we can pull ourselves out of this slowly. But that is going to require people to really understand how fucking horrible this Trump administration is, and the Republicans and their rhetoric and their bullshit. That needs to go. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not trying to sit here and say Democrats are perfect, because Democrats, there's a lot of work y'all need to do as well. I thought Kamala Harris was fine, but even if you listen to her, she just did a speech last week. And again, I agree with Kamala on a lot of things. I think she's a great person. But I also understand, I also like to listen to decent people. A lot of Americans, they don't care about anything. Kamala just doesn't talk to Americans very well, in my opinion. The general average Midwestern American is not going to like Kamala Harris. And that's why she shouldn't win. Because Trump just simply has more bullshit, street smart charisma, where Kamala simply didn't. I think it's stupid. That's how people think and they feel. And Democrats need to understand that. And Democrats need to understand that you have to talk to the rest of the country. And they're not smart people, by the way. I'm sorry, guys. It's true. If you thought at all that, especially after the events from 2016 and 2020, that Trump was ever going to be a good choice again, you don't get to claim any kind of smarts here. No. You just don't. Sorry, you don't. That's Trump's a scammer. He always has been for decades. He scammed his way into the White House in 2016. He did in 2024. And you all fell for it again. I don't know why, but you did. I laugh, but it's still sad. I laugh, though, because y'all got scammed. It's like... And that's the other point of my video here is... this country kind of deserves it right now. You all voted for a horrible person again. And yeah, no, I'm sorry, the election was not rigged. I'm not going to explain how I know that, because that means I have to reveal what I do for a living, but I will tell you I know for a fact that the election was not fucked with in any way. At least any way that I knew. I feel like I would have seen something. Anyways, I'm just going to tell you guys that that change is coming. And yes, I want to always be semi-positive and be like, we as people, as individuals, we can get through this shit. We're resilient. We can figure this stuff out. We can solve problems, put our mind to it. But I'm only saying this to say, be prepared to start having to solve some really fucked up problems in your life personally. Every single person watching this video. Even me. When I go back to rewatch it. Get ready to have to solve some just really hard-ass problems, because we are in for it. It's not a positive thing at all. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And if you voted for this, I know it means I have to deal with it too, but I actually am, for one, will say I will. I will deal with the shit if it means you get shit too. I think people who voted for Trump, or I don't really care, or whatever, who didn't vote or voted for Trump, you guys deserve the shit that comes with this. You should have voted, and you should have voted for Kamala. Not because you liked her, because you didn't want Trump. Sorry, that's just the reality of the situation. But you just didn't care because you thought that somehow you all think that society is invincible and that the world we live in right now won't end ever. I just don't understand. I mean, yeah, I guess we've lived through a really good time in history where it's so good that we take it for granted. And I think that's the problem, is we are too secure in that. We have been. Maybe that's starting to change now. Maybe people are finally seeing that that's not a good way to think anymore. But I don't know. I still see people acting like they don't want to. I people on Facebook. I just got done. I'll leave it. I'll leave it off with this. I just saw a video, or not. Sorry, not a video. A Facebook post from a random sponsor group, whatever, from Facebook. It was a meme, and people were just talking about. I don't exactly remember what the meme was exactly, but it was about politics now, like an anti-political meme. And people in the comment section, I always read comments because it tells me more about where people's minds are a little bit. And so many people, and this is a huge number of people, by the way, comment after comment. I can't stand people talking about politics right now. Why are people talking about politics so much? Shut up about politics, blah blah blah. Either they're Trump supporters and they think that he can't do any wrong, don't have to care, or they just never have cared. And that's equally as bad. You need to care about politics. You need to care about this stuff. This shit does affect you. It will affect you. If you think that American politics don't affect you and you live in the United States, guys, that's great in a way, because that means that the shit that we have fought for is working. But if we don't continue fighting for it, that luxury goes away. I've been saying this forever. You can go to No Kings protests and protest all that shit all you want, and people will love to protest. Why don't all those people that protest vote? A lot of them do. Some of them do. But a lot of people who protest do not vote, and that is some frustrating shit to me. Like, that's where it matters. Voting is just inconvenient for me. Your employer, up to this point, has been required to allow. It's a federal law. They have to allow you time to vote. It's part of being in this country. You can ask your employer, "Hey, I got to go vote today. I need some time to do that." They are required to give you that time. It's always okay to go and vote. It's always okay to do that. So fucking vote. If we have midterm elections, and I'm telling you, it's gonna be hard because we might have armed midterm elections where people are strong arming you to do the right thing, as in vote for Republicans. Go into those polls, be fucking strong. Don't be respectful, be polite. But go in there and vote when those midterms come up. And vote. Sorry, not sorry, but right now, unless things change, I think we're going to have to vote for Democrats this time around. I don't like that a lot either, because I think Democrats don't get a lot of shit done, but hey, at least they're decent and they don't fuck with shit either. Regardless of what some Republicans think they do. Anyways, I'll leave the video off at that. Guys, I'm hoping that we get midterms this in the new year. I'm not 100% sure we will, but if we do, please go out and vote. And please go out. We can put a stop to this shit. Or if I'm talking to a brick wall or Trump supporters that think I'm an idiot for even saying this, then okay. I hope you all die on the sword you fucking live by, if that's the case. If you want to keep supporting this shit, or if you want to act like it doesn't matter to me in my life, paying for rent is what matters to me. Well, you're not going to be able to afford rent if Republicans keep getting put back into office. So you better start fucking caring about this shit. All right, guys. Have a good night. Have a good day tomorrow. Maybe I'll say something, say more anti-political. We'll see. I have other things that are not political, so computer stuff or other topics in general. So I hope you guys stick around, and thanks for watching.